Hello. Okay, somebody had asked me a question about how to change colors in when you're knitting in your yarn, and specifically they said, how do you change it when you're doing 2x2 ribbing? So I'm going to show you my 2x2 ribbing. This is just a swatch that I put up. This is my purls, see the bumps, and here's my knits. So when you do 2x2 ribbing, you do 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. And then when you turn your work around, what do? You knit your knits and you purl your purls. This is a purl on this side. When you turn it around, it becomes a knit. Okay, so I will knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Okay, so you're knitting along and now you need to change colors, or you ran out of the ball of yarn and you need to start on another ball. So what do? And you just pick up the yarn and you start knitting with it. And I'll show you how to do it. Now I'm using a totally complete contrasting color of yarn so that you can see what I do. Okay, so I've knitted along. Here's my tail end of my old yarn that I was using. Now I'm going to start in. And since it's 2x2 ribbing, this is a purl. So I put my needle in as to purl. Here is my yarn, the tail end. Okay, all you do is just get your yarn and put it on your needle and start going. See, this is my other tail end, this is my new yarn. Okay, so you put it in and I'm going to purl. So you purl. Now this is what I do personally. Helps me, it makes the knitting a little tighter so that you don't have see how loose that stitch is right there. Okay, so my next stitch, which since I'm doing 2x2, is a purl. I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle. I'm going to tighten up this stitch some, and then I get both strands of my new yarn, the tail end and the working yarn, and I go ahead and use both strands, and I go over and I do it. Now it may be a little bulky right there, but you know when you do all your knitting and it's all said and done, you won't even notice it. But this helps kind of tighten it up. This is what I do. Okay, so 2x2 ribbing, now it's time to knit. I'm going to put the yarn in the back and I'm going to knit. And I like to do this with about 3 or 4 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to knit 2 stitches. I took that off my needle. Let me turn that back around. Okay. And here we go, we're going to knit. Okay, so now you can drop that tail end yarn and just work with your working yarn. 2x2, that's a purl, so I'm going to bring the yarn in front and I'm going to purl it. Going to knit the next 2. And then I'm going to purl the next 2. Okay, let me show you what I've done. Okay. Now I've just changed colors, or like I say, you could do this when you ran out of yarn and you need to add to another ball. So see, it's all nice and tight. It worked out really well. On this other side, this is my tail end here. This is the old part of the yarn. Oops, right here. Oops, right here. Okay, and then we've started. And then what you do to what they call weave in the ends, you get a large tapestry needle and you thread it like you would a needle and thread, and then you just kind of sew it into some of the stitches there. And the way I start when I cast on, when I come back in from my second row, I do the same method as far as holding the tail end yarn and the working yarn at the same time and knitting 3 or 4 stitches. So it's already weaved in, and I've already done that with this one. So I could cut this end off and be good. But with this tail end yarn, you want to get your tapestry needle and sew in to some of the stitches that you've made, the new stitches, with the same color yarn. You know, so if I was going to use this yarn and this contrasting yarn, when I went to weave in the yarns, I wouldn't put my tapestry needle on here and then sew it in on this side because that would show. I would sew it in on this side. So I hope that makes sense for you. If you have any questions, please email me and let me know. If you have a stitch you'd like me to work out for you, I'd be glad to do that. Happy knitting!